In this video, we're going to look at triangle congruence. Our objectives are to understand how to mark congruence, understand what isn't a congruence, and understand what CPCTC is. Our vocabulary, kind of long, you might have to look a lot of these up. First, congruent or congruence. Next, side, side, side. Side, angle, side. Angle, side, angle. Angle, angle, side. Side, side, angle. Angle, angle, angle. These 6 are the possible congruencies for triangles. 4 of them work, 2 of them don't. You'll find out which ones are which. Our last vocabulary is corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Our first 2 congruencies are side, 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 and side, angle, side. What side, side, side means is that we have 3 sides that are congruent to 3 sides of another triangle. So here we have side BC congruent to side XY, side YZ congruent to side AC, and side ZX congruent to side BA. This means that these 2 triangles are congruent. So what we want to do is we want to label that they're congruent. So the first thing that we do is we write the first triangle down. And we can write our first triangle however we want. So we'll go just alphabetical order here, A to B to C. Then we'll put a congruent sign, and then we need to label our other triangle. Well, since A is what we started with, we need to start with the correct one. A is between the 2 tally marks and the 3 tally marks. Z is in the same spot between 2 and 3. So Z is our first point in our triangle based off of our first triangle. So we have to match them up based off of how they're marked. From A we went to B, so we followed the 3 line. So Z, we want to follow the 3 line. That's going to take us to X, which leaves us with Y as our last one. So this says triangle ABC is congruent to triangle ZXY. And that's a congruent statement based off of side, side, side. Side, angle, side. It's very important that you understand what that means first. It means that we have 2 sides and the angle in between them. And that's how it has to be for both triangles. So side and side, angle between. Side and side, angle between. Okay? So now let's make the congruency. This is a congruence. So triangle. And this time let's go backwards from the alphabet. So let's go C, B, A. Okay, let's try and match this one. Well, we started with C, and that's our angle here. So which one matches up with that? Well, that's Z. So we've got Z first this time. Again. And we went from C to B, so we followed the 2 line, so Z to X here, and then we finish with Y. So it ends up being the same as this triangle, but these 2 are in different order. Okay? You can actually start with either triangle, so I could start with the second triangle and then match the first triangle to it, or vice versa. Okay? So these 2 are congruences. These pairs of triangles are the exact same triangle. That's what congruent means. The next 2 congruences that work are angle, side, angle. Angle side angle means two angles and the included side, so the side between them. Two angles and the side between them, and they have to be marked as congruent. Okay, so this is congruent, so we're going to now make the congruence by figuring it out. So triangle, let's start with the second triangle, so let's go x, y, z, let's go alphabetical. X, y, z is congruent to triangle. Oh, we have to match it up. So x had 1 at it, so we're going to go to A, which matches up the same. Okay, from x to y, we follow the 1 line. A to B, we follow the 1 line. This is AB, and that leaves us with C for our last one. So triangle XYZ is congruent to triangle ABC. Angle, angle, side also works as a congruence. Now this one can be a little bit more confusing for people to understand why it works. The reason it works is if we have two angles that are congruent, that means the third angle is congruent. So what this means is the angle A is congruent to angle Y because 180 minus those two congruent angles are going to leave us with the third angle being the same. So now what we've created is angle, side, angle. So both of these are angle, side, angle, basically. Angle, angle, side goes along with angle, side, angle. So now we can match this one up. So we'll again start with the bottom one. This time let's go reverse order. Z, Y, X is congruent to triangle. Well, Z had a 1 next to it. B had a 1, so this is going to be triangle B. From Z we went to Y, which we've marked as a 3 because of our knowledge of the triangle sum conjecture. So we're going to go to A, and that leaves us with C. So triangle ZYX is congruent to triangle BAC. Again, we can kind of mix and match how we do this. These last two congruences do not work. If you have angle, 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 that does not mean they're congruent. They could be. It is possible that they're congruent. We just can't prove that they're congruent with those 3 bits of information. As you can see, I've drawn it, and the angles actually look very similar here, but one much smaller than the other. And so visually we can tell these two are not congruent. Side-side angle, or SSA, is not congruent because what we can do is if we take our compass and we measure our second side, so we have a side and an angle drawn, from this side as we mark the distance of this second side and swing it, we would get 2 possible answers. Well, because there's 2 possibilities, we don't know which one is the right possibility, so we can't ever prove that it's correct. Yes, it's a 50-50 chance, but it's still more than one possibility, so we can't say that they're automatically congruent. Just like this one, it could be congruent, these could be congruent, but we can't guarantee it. Lastly is this thing known as CPCTC. And what CPCTC says is if corresponding parts mean parts in the exact same location of a congruent triangle must be congruent. So what this is saying is B and X, because they're marked as congruent, they're congruent. Well, let's figure out, this is side, angle, side, side, angle, side. So let's figure out the congruence of the triangles. Triangle ABC is congruent to triangle, well, A is here, and if we follow the 1, we'll get to B. So Z is here, if we follow the 1, we'll get to X, and B and X are the same, so we'll put Z here. B and X are the same, and then we follow the 2, we get to Y. So what this is saying is angle A is congruent to angle Z. A and Z are in the same spot. So we can mark Z and A as congruent. That's what CPCTC says, that because the triangles are congruent, we can mark congruent parts. Okay, B is in the same location as X, so they can be marked congruent. C is in the same location as Y, so they can be marked congruent. The last thing that we can look at is we have everything else congruent, so the side must be congruent to this side also, just following our basic common sense. So what we've shown is that if we have two congruent triangles, the other parts of the triangles must also be congruent. It's just the way that the triangles are drawn. Alright, if there's any part of this that we didn't understand or we need to re-watch, please rewind, re-watch, and bring any questions to class. Thank you.